It is Tuesday, October 7th. I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Welcome to Live Weather Impact. We've got a packed show tonight as well, even though the weather is pretty tranquil and kind of beautiful right now. Some bad news, not a lot of rain in the forecast. We kind of hinted at this yesterday, but it's getting a little worse with time. We can start with our views because Tim spoiled us yesterday. He had sun during our show. We did not, but today we're going to make up for it. Look at these views from our Mr. Sparky camera network, from Monroe to Dallas to Lake Norman. We're zoomed in on Charlotte because there's a lot of travel issues with the shutdown. The FAA is having some major issues across the country right now with short staffing with their controllers. So that's going to be a story you're going to want to stick around for. I'm sure Vanessa's going to talk about that coming up at 7 o'clock as well. But our weather could not be more perfect out there. It is just very warm for October. I mean, if this was June, July, or August, we'd be like, this is great. But it's October, and typically October, at least you want it less humid. You don't mind if it's near 80, but boy, it's been kind of muggy today. And the bad news, no rain. So we're getting the mugginess and the warmth without any showers. You can see the cold front. It's actually off to the west. I'm actually going to draw it on here because you can kind of see it right in here. There's a band of showers and storms trying to form in central Tennessee. The problem is there's very little hope that that's going to make it here. Oh, I don't know. My computer just freaked out there for a second. And it jumped to the 7-day. That was weird.
You forgot to say spoiler alert.
Yeah, that was really odd. We'll go back to the 7-day because there's some good information there. But let's talk about the temperatures first. That was weird. I'm not hitting like a hot button or something. Upper 70s to near 80 degrees right now. The dew points, though, this is why it feels so sticky. Mid to upper 60. I mean, Sherall right now, 70-degree dew point. That is incredibly sticky for October. And today's high, 7 degrees above normal. The low was 10 degrees above. So not your typical day. Look at that record, though. 34 degrees back at 1935. And no precip. And for the year, we're behind, but it really doesn't matter. It's a short-term thing. We're really behind going back into early August. Now, temperature-wise, we'll struggle to get below 70. Remember, 70s are the normal high. We're barely going to get there for a low tonight. And just a 20% chance of rain. I think these temperatures might be too low because I think we're going to struggle to get to those. Tomorrow, another day, probably in the low to mid-80s before the front gets here. With full sun, we could easily surge up there. Now, the dew points, I'm not a fan of those. I don't mind it near 80, but dew points in the 60s and 70s I could do without. Tomorrow and Wednesday, really today and tomorrow, you could see it, but a big drop going. I don't know why it's showing today. That should be forecast looking. You see our future cast. We've got that front moving through and not a lot of rain. Notice the rain is kind of falling apart. Once it pushes through, though, it could be really breezy and cool for the next couple of days beyond that front. So Thursday, Friday, even Saturday looks breezy. You're starting to see the beginnings of that nor'easter down near Charleston. That's low pressure that's going to form. So let me show you the minuscule rain chances tomorrow. Will it rain a few spots? Sure. There's a small chance, but it's looking pretty dry, folks. I mean, I'd love to tell you it's going to be more than that, but more people will see no rain than see even a drop. And pretty breezy for Thursday and Friday. So just prepare yourself now. If you got any loose items in the yard or, got leaves coming off the trees, they're going to be blowing around quite a bit later this week because the wind does pick up. Look at the rain chances tomorrow. I think 20-30% might be the max we can do. Pretty low chances. And look at the rainfall totals. These are really, really low totals. Most areas less than a 5/100th or a tenth. Many areas are bone dry. Now, Tim and I are going to talk a lot about this. This nor'easter is going to be the real deal on the coast, causing all kinds of beach erosion, surge, maybe even some coastal flooding with the astronomical high tides. We call them king tides. But the Outer Banks in particular, they've been just clobbered this summer and fall with this northeast flow. And it hasn't even been tropical storms. It's been these low pressure systems causing all kinds of issues. Look at the futurecast wind gusts. Now, these are the gusts, not sustained. So gust offshore, pushing 40, 50. Onshore, they could really jump. At one point, Hatteras could be up around 50 or 60. For us, just breezy. I wouldn't call it super windy, but if it stays further east, we could even see less wind. But that flow around it's going to bring the wind out of the northwest. That's a dry, cool flow of air. So at least it'll be comfortable beyond this. We'll talk about Jerry as well. We knew this was going to form. This will be a hurricane. Could threaten the northern Windward and Leeward Islands there and then recurve up towards Bermuda, but looks like it's going to miss Bermuda as well. The same front we just mentioned is going to save us from a tropical system, though. I don't want to see a tropical system per se, but boy, we could use the rainfall. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. We've got a serious wildfire risk that is going to be developing over the coming weeks. And the long range. So A lot of hubbub about maybe cold air coming down around the 20th. I'll be honest with you, I don't see anything remotely close to cold heading our way. Remember, now the average high this time of year is in the 70s, falling by the end of the month into the upper 60s. This means probably most of the rest of the month we're going to be in the 70s, if not close to 80. So pretty warm by October standards. Not summer or spring, but for October standards, it's pretty warm. You see the averages going out to the 20th, around 72 and 50. We'll probably be closer to 80 and 60. So that should give you an idea of just how warm it's going to be. But the weekend, it's hard to complain about that. I mean, 72 and 52 is nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty nice weekend forecast, and it will be breezy, so very comfortable. Home Panthers game, taking on the Cowboys. Let's get out there. The weather is going to be great for that game. Here's a look at your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. We'll start with that first. I'm going optimistic tomorrow. 40% is very optimistic. I'll be honest with you. Conservatively, probably 20% should be in there, but we're going to hope that a couple pop-up storms get going. But then look at the cool down for Thursday, Friday. We'll spend most of the afternoons in the 60s, morning lows in the 40s and 50s. We'll see some frost in the mountains this weekend. That's not abnormal, and it's actually not the first frost. I saw someone post about maybe the first frost coming. We forget, back in early September, we had 2 nights of frost in the mountains. That was on the 9th and 10th of September, almost a month ago. So we've had some of our first frost, but it will be much more widespread out there, certainly as we get into the end of the week. But by the weekend, we're starting to slowly warm up, low 70s. By early next week, low to mid 70s. And by the middle and end of next week, we could be back near 80 degrees, which
Can't
by
buy a
then,
raindrop.
yeah, that's way above normal. And look at the morning lows in the mid to upper 50s. You're probably saying that's still comfortable, but we should be closer to 50. So that's why I said 80 and 60 is probably going to be more the norm then. So that's why you're seeing temperatures way above normal next week. And notice also, no rain in that 10-day forecast outside of tomorrow's 40% chance. So we've got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the nor'easter. We'll talk about Jerry. We'll talk about fall leaves and wildfire danger coming up right after the break. So stick around.